And good morning. It's 7:04 on this Thursday, January 12th. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. Thursday morning, and we're glad to have you. If you've looked outside, it's cloudy and overcast, probably going to rain shortly. Temperature in the 60s this morning. Well, that's the way it is. We're on the air for Bates Ford, 1673 West Main in Lebanon. The dealer don't trade for anything you don't eat. Ronnie is here this morning. Ronnie Kelly, good morning.
Good morning.
And Paul Tubbs, the general manager, is here. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to see you both. Y'all been at it a long time, and we remind people of this from time to time. Ronnie, you're now almost in your 30, you've almost completed 35 years.
Almost completed 36.
36. You're going to start your 37th.
Yeah, I've started 37th. 26 January.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and put 37. Well, it's 36. You're starting 37.
Starting 37.
All right. And Paul has been there at least 24 years. Was it Burchett Ford when you started?
I worked for Mr. Burchett.
And then Bates Ford, and now you're the general manager.
I am.
But not in sales, exactly.
I started in the back with Mr. Bates. Tony actually was running the place. Mr. Burchett was the owner at the time. My dad was a Ford credit rep, and I come up there and never been to Lebanon. I've been to Lebanon one time. I remember when I was a kid, my dad took me to Floyd Wilson's motorcycle shop and got me a motorcycle. I think that was the only time I'd ever been to Lebanon, but and then now I'm a transplant, so I love it and play golf and baseball and all that fun stuff.
Well, before we really get started commercially, you might want to mention Dave Williams Jr. this morning.
Man, that's something I really hate. Dave Smith was, I thought a whole lot. He was just a fabulous man and great. And Joe was actually my rep at Bates or Burchett, whichever, when I first started coming on the radio here, Joe Smith. And Dave was the president at the country club, and me and him had some battles. When he was the president, I think we had somewhere like around 100 members, and it was not an easy time. And I can remember me and him dealing with some things out there. And I hate it because I really thought a lot and respected Dave Smith and what he did to help me and as far as out there and stuff. And I just want to send my condolences to Joe and the family and stuff.
Well, I think we all feel that way. And, of course, Joe worked here for a good while. And, Joe, you pretty much going to know Dave.
Right. And Dave called me, I guess, 3 or 4 months ago and said, hey, I'm going to put some tires on Joe's car. And I ended up putting a set of tires and meeting or beating anybody's price. So, he was a loyal friend and a great person, and I really hate that.
Right. Well, Ronnie, you want to get us started about cars this morning?
Yes.
Automobiles, trucks.
That's right. Automobile, trucks. Mr. Bakes, he went and bought several more cars again. So we have a great selection of used cars. I mean, a great selection. We got cars going everywhere. And I don't know, we need more room to put them out now. So, and I think Paul got a lot of space on the asphalt with a lot of service cars. So we're going to have to do something here pretty soon. Get on to that new dealership real quick.
Well, if you can sell a little faster, why, let's get rid of some of them.
We definitely going to have to sell them. We
That's
definitely got to do
thinking,
that.
Coleman, instead of me he need to sell more. So
It's going to take a lot of us to sell them.
Got something really special you want to mention?
Yeah, those special, the F-150. I always got to talk about the F-150. We got some new trucks in. Again, we got a great inventory on new trucks. And on these used trucks right now, we do have a lot of used trucks he just bought in. We got a lot of F-150s, and they selling real good right now. The used trucks are doing good. So we haven't had a lot of those to offer, but now we do. So if you're looking for in the truck market, please come down to Bates Ford because we can put you in a truck.
That one is one of your favorites, isn't it?
Yes.
The F-150.
The F-150 been our breadwinner for 32 years or longer. So, and it's a great truck. And that's what I've always drove for a long time. So I really enjoy the F-150. We sell a lot of those trucks.
So you're practicing what you preach.
Yes.
Drives one himself. Well, there's a lot of other things always to talk about, your service department and that cheapest oil change in town.
Yeah, we're staying covered up in service, doing a lot of tires. We've had a lot of tires, like I was mentioning with Dave. We'll meet or beat anybody's price. So, we got a lot of customers that call us, and if you got a set of tires or you're looking for a set of tires, you don't have to come to Bates. You can call us. We can look it up per your vehicle and give you a quote right there. Several tires got rebates. We're doing a lot of the specials as far as oil changes. One, I had a guy come in the other day, and actually he was up the road at, I guess, a drive-in oil change place, and they wanted like $250 for a diesel oil change. One thing I don't mention, and I'd say we're cheapest in town on that, we do most diesels, and diesel oil was kind of like other things. It was hard to come by, but we do a $150 diesel oil change. So he said, I was just up the street at the place in front of Kroger's, and it was $250. So y'all are $100 cheaper on the oil change for a diesel. So if you've got a diesel work truck, if it's going to rain today, if you're looking for an oil change, come down to Bates Ford. We'll do as I always say, we do a complete inspection where we'll check your brakes, batteries, hoses, and look over everything for you.
Yep. And I don't think you mentioned this calling in and purchasing tires over the phone before.
Yeah, I mean, it's easier that way. You don't have to make two trips. So if there's something, generally if there's something, we got what they call a tire sales tool on Ford's site, so we can either put your vehicle in or the size of your tire, look it right up for you right then, and give you a quote right out the door.
And did we mention batteries?
Yeah, the batteries, there again, your testament too. I tell you every week, but cheapest batteries, generally most vehicles.
Still starting.
Yeah, most vehicles. You got a 3-year warranty, so if something happens, let me know. No, you actually got a 100-month warranty, 3-year free replacement, and then they prorate it after the 3 years. But, batteries, a lot of vehicles, $134.95. Yours was not a Ford product, but I think it was $149. You said the parts house was $210. So
You got a good memory.
yeah, I do have a good memory. Hey, and something else I want to mention, I did a commercial, is we traded for a Massey Ferguson. It was a 1969 or 8 Massey Ferguson tractor that a guy had laying around that didn't come in, traded it on a vehicle. Mr. Bates loves that. So, don't be shy if you got something, even if it's an older piece that you want to turn into cash. You can certainly use it as a down payment on a vehicle, motorcycle, boats, RVs, stuff like that. 1960, I think it was a 68 Massey Ferguson tractor that we gave a gentleman, and he used that money towards a down payment on a new vehicle. So please, if you got something turn into cash, holler at us.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here. We'll see you next Thursday. Have a good one.
All right.
Ronnie Kelly, Paul Tubbs, Bates Ford, 1673 West Main in Lebanon, the dealer. Don't trade for anything you don't eat. We're about 11 minutes after the hour, and Captain P.J. Hardy joins us this morning.
You just gave me a promotion.
Oh,
Thank
Lieutenant.
you.
Well,
No, Coleman, I kind of like the sounds of that. Captain.
well, I better turn your mic up here. All right. All right. Lieutenant P.J. Hardy, I believe the captain's over at the sheriff's office.
Oh, they have several over there. Yeah, absolutely.
Moore.
Yes, Scott Moore. Captain
Scott
Moore.
Moore's captain, right?
Yes.
You're lieutenant. All right. Well,
Yes, he's the full-size version. I'm the fun-size version of PIOs.
Well, how you been?
Just living the dream. What can I tell you, Coleman? We're just
Living the dream.
moving along here.
Yeah. Well, we go from, it'd be 3 weeks this Friday, I guess, 3 weeks tomorrow when it was about -2.
Yeah,
at
when
least
Mother
in
Nature was trying to
places,
kill us.
And today in the 60s. And what was that like for the police department? It's different when it's zero. Basically, we had zero for several hours there.
Yeah, those cold temperatures really brought some issues. It wasn't too bad. Traffic-wise, we were pretty good. We didn't have too many major incidences due to traffic and that sort of thing. We did have some gas line issues, and then, of course, once everything kind of thawed out, there were some water issues with broken pipes and that sort of thing. So it's one of those rare things. You've lived here longer than I have, so you know that it's just these anomalies that happen from time to time, whether it's a tornado or whether it's deep freeze, frozen tundra type weather that we had. But all in all, I think we fared well. And like I said, there was several little pockets of communities on the north side up here that were affected by the gas.
Right. Well, your fairly new location out on Sparta Pike, Park Avenue, whatever the official address is.
It's Sparta
the
Pike.
old Middle Tennessee Electric Building.
Yep.
Did you have any problems there?
No, none to speak of. So we were very blessed there. We had a little bit of an outage for just a short period of time with our phone systems, but that was really probably unrelated, I would imagine. But other than that, we were good.
When we have inclement weather like that, and inclement weather you can talk about a lot of different things as inclement weather, I guess. But when it's really a cold snap like that, is there as much necessary law enforcement? I mean, I don't think there's as many people robbing banks or shooting people or homicides or that sort of thing, or maybe even the driving is a little improved. I don't know. There are wrecks because of slick roads, but comment on that.
So you got to remember we are law enforcement, but we're first responders. So we go out with our firefighters, we go out with our paramedics. As you can imagine, there's probably more medical type emergencies during those times. Again, when we had the gas line issue and then the water pipes breaking issues, those sorts of things, we respond to those as well. So in those times, we trade our guns and badges for shovels and whatever else we got to do to kind of pick up the pieces and help everybody in the community. So it stays busy. It's just a little bit different busy, And so as a community, we work really well together with all of our surrounding agencies, whether they're law enforcement, fire, EMS. So it's pretty much, and I will tell you during those types of incidences, it's pretty much all hands on deck because, as you can imagine, this isn't a small pocket of incident. This is the entire county that's being affected by this weather. So we do all pull together. One thing I'd like to mention, and if folks would kind of keep in mind, such as the incident with the gas line issue, when we have emergencies like that, if you would check out our Facebook page, our Instagram page, because we're going to have information on separate ways that you can contact the police department in reference to a utility situation versus a police situation. It gets kind of hard for our communications center to take all the calls that come in at that time. We were having a lot of phone calls come in about the gas issue, and we get that. And so we're diverting some of it to the gas department, but they really didn't have anybody on hand to respond to those phone calls. So we have set a few new protocols, and there's a few different things that we're going to be doing in the future in those situations. But if they would just look at our Facebook page, check out our Instagram. We'll have information on there. We'll have what's called a Google Doc, basically, and anybody can log on if they have the internet, some kind of connection. It'll tell them where all the areas that are affected. Give them a live, up-to-date, chronological listing of everything that's going on in reference to that particular situation and whatnot. Plus, there'll be separate phone numbers that you can call. We'll be pulling more staff in to what we call our ECC, Emergency Control Center, or Emergency Communications Center, to field those phone calls so that we can keep our police lines open for police lines for actual police emergencies.
Well, people keep that in mind, and Facebook's a good place to start.
Absolutely.
Okay. Lieutenant P.J. Hardy, my guest. More coming up on Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And at 7:17, let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to Bates Ford, lifetime brake pad guarantee. With the purchase of a brake service, replacement brake pads will be provided at no cost for as long as a customer's vehicle. Bates Ford, 1673 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Traffic volume increasing quite a bit now on 24 westbound and through the Hickory Hollow area, coming in from Rutherford County into Davidson. Steady flow of traffic in Wilson County right now. I-40 headed towards Nashville through Mount Juliet there, especially going westbound. Radar earlier, I-40 out through parts of Dixon County. Princess Hot Chicken is catering. They're online at princesshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing has experienced new leadership and a new atmosphere. Same location in the heart of Lebanon, 731 Castle Heights Court on the Castle Heights campus. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing is providing 5-star clinical outcomes to short-term and long-term care residents. Call 615-444-4319 for a tour and to experience the new culture. Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing.
It's all about taking care of you, and THW Insurance will do just that. Are you looking for home or auto insurance? THW represents Westfield Insurance and other fine companies. Together, they will protect you and your family. Call Joe Bumgartle at 615-904-6390 or stop by Wilson Bank and Trust, 2640 South Church Street in Murfreesboro.
Be prepared for the possibility of severe.
A little bit of comedy. Thanks for joining us, and our thanks to PJ Hardy for coming out and being with us each month. You did send Officer Dick Clark out of time too. How's he doing?
He's doing good. You know, he's really has tackled the DARE program. He is our lead person on that. He's done a great job of trying to get that organized and getting it up and going. It's really a fantastic program, and we're hoping to expand it and even make it better than it is. He right now he's playing with Mickey Mouse somewhere down in Florida, from what I hear. So he's taking a nice little hiatus for the week.
Okay. Well, throw something else out. You and I have not talked about, I don't think, legislation a lot, but the state legislature's back in session, and I just wondered if there are any bills that you are really concerned about, pro or con, that you've heard about that may be coming up that we might even talk about this morning.
There's really not a whole lot that's there. You know, there's going to be some changes in the human trafficking laws, which is becoming an issue. Yesterday was the National Human Traffic Awareness Day or whatnot. So there'll be a little bit of that. But other than that, of course, and this might be just kind of a sidebar, you know, we're always interested when they start talking about different retirement programs for first responders, especially in law enforcement. You know, our law enforcement retirement provisions and guidelines and whatnot have been in place for 1,000 years. You know, not much has changed in that aspect. And I think as we develop and as we grow, we recognize that at 30 years in this line of work is a pretty long time. And not that you can't do it, not that the officers don't want to do it, but there probably should be some other options available for those for, you know, certain circumstances. I, for one, started law enforcement late. I didn't start when I was 20 or 21 like most officers. So I'll be probably behind my desk the day I retired, because I'll, you know, have gone on to heaven before I can retire. So it's just something to consider, you know, and I think they're going to be looking at a couple different options there.
Let me ask something else, because yesterday Jeff Luttrell, the director of schools, was out here, and he was talking about the fact that you like to retain good teachers, especially, and that you need to have a pay plan in place that's going to be attractive to them, so they're not always looking for grass greener on the other side of the fence and that sort of thing. Is that a coming thing, perhaps, with law enforcement as well?
It already exists.
Yeah.
It's already there. It's so competitive nowadays. You got to. So to paint the bigger picture, we have, back in the day, you put out an ad for a police officer, you'd have 100, 150 applicants. You had a large pool to pick from. Today, we'd be lucky to get 20, 25. And then, of course, we're looking at those 20, 25, and so is the Sheriff's Department, so is Mount Juliet, so is Highway Patrol, so is everybody else. The pool is much smaller, so the competition is greater, right? So as a police department, we have to find and keep ways to make it attractive for good officers to stay, because, you know, there's a lot of opportunity out there for those who are very proficient and good at what they do. They can take their skills and their services and go somewhere else and make more money. And so it's
not necessarily even in law enforcement.
Not necessarily even in law enforcement. Now, I say that to say this. If you compare our department as far as the scale and benefits and everything all together, I will say that we are one of the top agencies as far as that is concerned, among other things. But as far as making it competitive for officers, if you look at the entire package, we've got one of the best programs out there. Shift schedules, opportunities for growth, all that stuff matters, and so we're in a good place. Of course, everybody wants more, right? Everybody wants more, and so when they hear about this department or that department, you know, maybe getting this kind of raise or that kind of raise, and you know, it starts conversations. But Pay scales studies or pay studies are done every year through our HR department, and they do a really good job of making sure that we stay competitive. Are we the top agencies as far as, down to the penny? No. But if you look at the overall package, our very cost-effective insurance for individuals and families. The retirement thing is just kind of everybody's doing the same thing. Pretty much everyone is transitioning into kind of a hybrid retirement plan. It's more heavily on a 401k, just like the rest of the world, basically. So that's no different. But our work schedule, our training, our growth. I mean, growth equals opportunity. So as you can imagine, I was going to mention to you today, as we stand right now, we're at 175 all in personnel at the police department. So of the 175, we're 115 officers. So that right there, I could tell you when I started back in 2001, you go on a roll call, there were 6 people, and that included the supervisor. And so now, they've got 13, 14, 15 per shift, plus we've got the flex unit, plus we have 4 on traffic, plus we have a drug unit. I mean, all of this opportunity, that makes for, that makes for something that's appealing to.
Let me throw this out, because there's got to be a fear factor there of some degree. Police work, there's the danger element, and that's got to be considered. How much does that factor in somebody's decision to either come aboard or to leave?
It is a big factor. It is something that they have to make sure that they are fully aware of the potentials that come with this line of work. I think there's still a lot of people out there that are willing to make those types of sacrifices, that are willing to do that type of work, and will face those dangers and their fears and whatnot. The issue is we had a really unique conversation the other day with one of our captains, Captain Murray. He went to the FBI National Academy. He just got back. It's really an honor for him to do that, and we're blessed for him to have that additional training. But they had conversations down there about the new officers, the millennial mentality of us versus them. And one of the comments that I guess that was made there was, okay, so let's think about this. So when we started on, we were told what to do, when to do, how to do it. We said yes, sir. We moved on. We worked long hours. We put every minute into it. We missed birthdays, we missed anniversaries, we missed holidays. It was just the way it was. That's how it was when I started. But now this generation's asking the question, why? They're looking at quality of life more so than they are the actual dollar amounts and the benefits. And so the question was asked, who's smarter? Us old heads that just followed every rule and command and every order given and all that, or this generation that recognizes that it's important to have a family life, that it's important to have good mental health, and you do that by not becoming so absorbed into one particular thing that it takes over the rest of your life. So that's what we need to get better at. That's what we need to get better, not as our department, law enforcement in general. How do we do that? I think we were ahead of the curve. Years ago, and I can kind of talk about this because I was a part of bringing it to the department, we went to 12-hour shifts. You're thinking, well, how does longer hours, make it better for officers? Yes, it's a few more hours longer. On a standard 8-hour shift, a lot of times between checking in or late calls or that sort of thing, you're already working 9-10 hours anyway. But on the 12-hour shift, it afforded everyone to be able to have every other Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. So on a standard 8-hour shift, you're looking at, having Tuesday, Wednesdays off for 10 years. And good luck with that. That's a lot of fun. But working every single weekend, and then you might, bump up to Thursday, Fridays, and in most agencies, until you reach a high level in the ranks, you're never going to have Saturday and Sunday off together. Even as sergeants and some lieutenants, they only have Friday or Saturday or Sunday and Monday off. So this 12-hour schedule allows them to have the every other weekend off. Every other weekend is a 3-day weekend. That's pretty nice. Plus, on their short week, in a 7-day period, they're only working 2 days. It really kind of helps give them the opportunity to plan things more. If they want to go on vacations, they pick their short week, so they're only taking two what we call them PTOs, personal time off days. They're only taking 2 PTOs, but they're giving 7 days in a row. So it's stuff like that, and it's we have to really look at that. Of course, there's some things we can't help. We're open 24/7, right? We got to be there.
And you can be called in in an emergency situation.
You can, absolutely, absolutely.
But that's pretty much true in anything, if there's a dire emergency.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we have to come up with ways that really talk to the new employee, that really talks to the new officer. They want to do this job. They want to make the same sacrifices as every officer before them. They just have a little bit different view on it. And they're like, okay, but... or why?
Yeah.
Those are 2 things that we hear a lot more often today than we ever did in the past. You never heard an officer say but or why, but today you do, and it's not a bad thing. You just need to figure it out and go from there.
Our time is up. I'm sure glad you brought all of that out, because I understand your work schedule, the 12-hour shift, a lot better now from what you've told us this morning.
Yeah, and then there's a bunch of other agencies that have finally come on board, and now they're in the 12-hour shifts. So.
All right, Lieutenant P.J. Hardy, we'll see you next month. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coleman.
That's part 1 of Coleman and Company. Keep it here for more. FM 98.9.
And it's 7:31. Let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks, Absolute Kubota. They have a deal designed to keep you ahead of schedule. Check out the world's #1 selling compact excavator plus 0% financing going on now. Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. I see some flashing lights over here. TDOT's trying to move a stalled vehicle on 40 westbound, just past 24 there before you get to 2nd and 4th. Again, that's 40 westbound. Now, that could slow down traffic a little bit over here on 40 west, where it's already heavy, just trying to get past Fessler's. Traffic's increasing on 24 through the Hickory Hollow area, leaving Rutherford County. Lots of radar in Rutherford and Coffee County this morning. Princess Hot Chicken can help you with catering. Check them out online at princesshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
And now, a moment of silence to remember our dear friend.
Sorry. Oh, man.
Life can be uncomfortable. Your home doesn't have to be. With a wide range of air conditioners, furnaces, and heat pumps, Rheem makes it easy to feel comfortable, even when you can't be comfortable.
Financing available through TVA's Energy Right program and your local power company. Call Randy's Heat and Air 237-3604.
Are you thinking about buying a new home? Let A.G. & Johnson assist you with your new home search. From the first-time home buyer to the empty nester, we are experienced in all facets of the home buying process. We will be with you every step of the way. No matter if you are buying, selling, downsizing, or upsizing, we can assist you with your real estate needs. Call us at 615-444-0909 or find us online at agandjohnson.com or Facebook A.G. & Johnson Realty. A.G. & Johnson is your community's trusted realty and auction company.
Be prepared for the possibility of severe weather today. A line of storms will be arriving before lunchtime, bringing heavy rainfall and possibly damaging winds. We should see a high of 63, but things will be turning cold as temperatures fall to freezing overnight. This weather forecast is brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty, professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. That's a look at your forecast. I'm number 1 Ned.
We continue here on a Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us, and we welcome now Jay White and Helene Cash to talk about A.G. & Johnson Realty and Auction. The location's where it's been for a long time, 728 West Main, but not always, right, Jay? Not always there, but A.G. & Johnson itself has been around since 1977. And they've had this phone number for a long, long time. Helene is here. We're going to do the phone number. 615-444-0909. All right. Well, with that, we get started this morning. And, Jay, we have another auction to talk about.
We do.
Coleman. We do. We're this week we're off. We're off this Saturday. We're not going to have one this coming weekend, but we have on the 21st of January. We're going down to Hermitage, right off the Old Hickory Boulevard exit, selling a nice 2-story home on a corner lot in a very nice, beautiful, established neighborhood down there. Almost 3,000 square feet of living space.
Beautiful home.
It is a nice home, and with lots of collectibles and musical equipment, furniture, and just a whole lot more. Just plan on coming and staying with us all day. But if you're into any kind of musical collectibles, all types of photographs and records and signed autographs by a lot of country music stars and folks in the country music business back in the 60s and 70s and early 80s. I mean, this would be a great place to come and find a treasure.
Well, I just got to mention, you got a picture of Bill Anderson's greatest hits album there. It's got to have on there Still and Mama Sang a Song.
Oh, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does.
Remember Bill? We all remember. If we've been around a while, we remember Bill Anderson. But that's just one of much music memorabilia you're going to have available, right?
It really is. It really is. Just lots of memorabilia that established the music world here. These folks that live there spent their life in the music business and spent their life. As they went through doing the things that they did through life, they collected a lot of priceless items that are very unusual, and you don't see very often. Just things you can't get today.
Saturday, January 21st, starting at 10 a.m.
Yes, sir. On the 21st, starting at 10 a.m. We'll plan to be there all day. We'll sell the real estate first, and we'll fall right in on all the collectibles and the furniture and all the musical instruments and things. So come out and be with us on the 21st at 10 a.m.
All right, Helene, what do you got for us today?
How are you, Coleman?
I'm doing well.
I'm glad to hear that. So we get asked often, what properties sell best at auction? And yesterday I had the phone call and someone was asking me, was their property the right property for auction? And, we have a lot of experienced auctioneers on the team here at A.G. & Johnson. So I always like to say to them, first and foremost, the finest of luxury real estate and the finest of luxury assets always sell at auction. So let's think about that first. The finest of fine items sell at auction. But we have auctioneers that have done this for a long time. So what we like to do is have an auctioneer come out to your home and talk to you about it, to look at what your specific needs are, whether or not their situation is the best situation for auction. So they talk to you, they sit down, they go through what your needs are, they look at your home, they look at what the assets are, and have the conversation to see if this situation is best suited for auction. So when you call us, we'll come out and we're going to have a conversation with you to see if the auction is the best thing for your needs. So it's not always what properties sell best at auction, it's what the situation is. And it doesn't matter if it's an investment property, if it's a vacation home, if it's your home, if it's an estate settlement, or if it's a luxury piece of real estate. It's what the situation is. We take in the whole package when we talk about what sells best at auction.
So if it's your home, I take it there are times that you may do better if it's sold at auction. Other times if you put it on the market.
There's a lot of reasons why it goes into it, why auction is better. I mean, it's not just one particular reason. There's a lot of reasons why. But, one of my fast and favorite is that we know when it's selling. We know it's selling that day. We know it's happening. That's one of my favorites.
Well, I know, Jay, that you love auctions, being an auctioneer yourself. And I'm not sure when is the best on that's what you got to decide, right? Somebody has to. You need some help probably, but if you're selling at auction, you love to get up there and do that auctioneer chant, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a quick. It's just a rush. Let me tell you, it's just a rush. It's kind of like winning a ball game sometimes.
Well, you are looking for listings, as always.
We're always looking for listings. I mean, we are in real estate. We are looking for listings, but we can help you whether you're looking to buy or sell. It's one or the other. So we can help you. We have a tenured agent for you that can help you whether you're looking to buy or sell or acquire an additional piece of real estate. We can help you with that. And just give us a call at 615-444-0909, and we can have someone help you with your needs.
And you do have, we hear from the two of you most of the time, but do you have quite a team?
We do.
That they may not all be in the office at the same time every day, but you have a number of people people who are affiliated with your realty and auction company.
Absolutely. That's one of the great things about real estate. They don't have to be in the office. We are all connected by email and telephone and text, that they can be out in the field working with their clients. They do not have to be in that physical building. We can reach them immediately.
Okay, our time's about up here, but again, the Absolute Auction, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, January 21st, 10 a.m. This is in Hermitage, Tennessee, 4000 Port Cleburne Lane.
Yes,
Get
sir.
that right? Okay.
Yes, sir. 10 o'clock. Come
All
be
right.
with us.
Well, y'all have a good one, and Jay and Helene, we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Coleman.
Okay, we're about 21 before the hour. Let me say again, A.G. and Johnson Realty and Auction, 728 West Main in Lebanon, and the website, www.agandjohnson.com. Well, today is the day that we're going to go to the telephone and turn the volume up here for Congressman John Rose. Congressman, good morning to you.
Good morning, Coleman, and thanks for having me on Coleman and Company this morning, WANT.
We are so glad to hear your voice and to have you, and to also have Ray Render sitting over here to my left, who is here with his cup of coffee, and he said yesterday he's going to bring some donuts. They're here. Ray says they're here. And you want to say good morning to the congressman, too, I'm sure.
Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning, and Coleman, I hear a little tweet in my ear earlier that said belated happy birthday wishes are due to you.
Well, thank you. It was yesterday, and it was a good one. But they're all days are good when you get my age. How's that?
I understand. Well, thank you for having me on today. And in case I don't get a chance later, I want to just say to everyone listening, it's a great honor and privilege to represent the great people of the 6th District of Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't mean to impugn anybody or whatever, but I am saddened by the fact that you no longer represent my little house and lot here in Lebanon, Tennessee. I have a different congressman as of I guess the last election. So, but you're still congressman for a lot of people here in Wilson County.
That's right. So when including right there where you're sitting, the territory there where you are east of Highway 70 of US 70 is still part of the 6th District, and we have a significant portion of Wilson County. So, and you know, I understand and I appreciate your sentiments, but you know, I think Wilson County in the end ends up being a beneficiary of having two members of Congress that will be thinking about the issues that are important to Wilson County.
All right, let's get right into things. We've had a history-making beginning of this Congress, and the fact that it took, I think, 15 roll calls to elect a Speaker of the House. So go through that with us, if you will.
Sure. So many people, I guess most Americans that at least listen to the news a little or listen to folks at the water cooler know that we always convene the Congress on January 3rd unless there's some change of that time frame. And most people, I wasn't aware of that prior to coming to Congress. So we convened last week on January 3rd. And the first order of business is to elect, well, I guess I should say the first order of business is that the last Congress adjourns. They call it sine die, which means for the last time. And then we convene the new Congress. And initially, the clerk of the House presides because we don't have a leader, we don't have rules to operate under, that sort of thing. And so, and as many people know, one Congress can't necessarily dictate the actions of the next Congress. So, so we go right into the effort to elect a speaker. And in fact, there is a law that passed back in 1946, I believe, that guides that process, and then it's also guided just by historical precedent. And so, unfortunately, because of a few holdouts on the Republican side on the first ballot and then subsequent 13 ballots, Kevin McCarthy from California, from Bakersfield, California, is my same age, so we're contemporaries with one another, and Kevin is a great guy, and we can talk more about that, but he was not able to get a majority of the votes cast, and we kind of knew there would probably be some challenge there because in this Congress we have a very slim majority on the Republican side. It's actually a 5-seat majority. Coincidentally, the same majority, the same margin as what the former speaker had during the last Congress, and she struggled with that. Fortunately, through spirited negotiations and discussions, we were finally able to get those that were not immediately with Kevin on board, a sufficient number of them, and a few that refused to ever come on, but they at least agreed not to vote, which lowered the threshold. And in the end, Kevin McCarthy last early Saturday morning was successful in getting a majority, and it actually ended up being the same number and the same outcome as what Speaker Pelosi had enjoyed 2 years ago. So we got that behind us, and then passed, well, actually, we were all sworn in then early Saturday morning before adjourning and then coming back on Monday to get back to work.
Okay, we've almost reached the point where we take a break, so we're going to go ahead and do that right here. Representative John Rose is my guest this morning, and we'll talk more in a moment here on Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways at 7:43 now, and it's all brought to you by Bates Ford. Get that regular oil change, $34.95, up to 5 quarts oil, tax and disposal, 1673 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Traffic still pretty heavy coming through Wilson and Smith County right now. Lots of radar in both of those counties as it gets heavy now. 40 westbound at Spence Lane all the way up to Fessler. Steady flow of traffic continues I-40 through Kingston Springs. It's pretty busy leaving Dixon County now on I-40 East as you head towards Nashville. Watch for some radar in Dixon County. Nash Painting is Middle Tennessee's #1 residential and commercial painters. These guys are absolutely the best. They've got the best ratings. They're online at nashpainting.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
What is your passion? How can you use that passion to enrich your community? Hi, this is Melanie Minter, President and CEO of the Lebanon-Wilson County Chamber of Commerce. Your chamber is the resource for making connections to fulfill your passion. Whether education, nonprofit, agriculture, entertainment, or government relations, Wilson County offers a place for you to be involved. Your chamber connects businesses, individuals, and your passion to the community. We have an enthusiasm for excellence. Join us and catch the spirit. Call or visit our office at 149 Public Square in Lebanon.
Hey, this is Paul at Bates Ford. We got some great things going on for you. If you got a vehicle you want to sell, bring it to Bates Ford. We'll give you a cash offer on the spot. Also, come check out our great used inventory. And on the service side, we got the cheapest oil change in town, got the cheapest batteries in town, and we'll meet or beat anybody's price on tires. Come visit us at Bates Ford, 1673 West Main, or visit us on the web at www.tonybatesford.com. That's Bates Ford, the dealer will trade for anything that don't eat.
We continue here on this Thursday morning. Congressman John Rose is on the phone speaking to us from Washington, D.C. Congressman, I want to ask this because of the time and the 15 ballots that it took to elect a speaker. There are some people who have been alluding, saying that the Republicans don't have it together. They are divided. This is no good. How would you respond to that?
Well, I think anytime you have a narrow majority, it's it exposes your differences if you have any. But what I would point out to everyone is we came back on Monday and we passed the rules package, and there was a lot of anticipation that perhaps that would be difficult. And then we've gone right to work this week, putting in place legislation and passing bills that will begin to turn back some of the woke and progressive policies that we've seen put in place over the last 2 years by the single party rule in Washington. So we started out by passing a bill that would turn back the funding for those 87,000 IRS agents that are going to descend on all of us, and particularly on working class Americans. Democrats constantly say, well, they're going to go after the millionaires, but all of the data and even the announcements from the Treasury Secretary are that they're going to follow traditional guides, and that means they're going to be coming and auditing middle-class, hardworking, blue-collar Americans. And then we got on to some other important business, frankly. So, for example, yesterday, and this is just one that's near and dear to my heart, we passed the Born Alive Abortion Survivor Protection Act. which is should just be a no-brainer, frankly. And it basically says that if during the process of an abortion, and hopefully there'll be a lot fewer of those now that the Supreme Court has reversed the Roe decision from years ago, but if there is an abortion happening and the baby is born alive, then they're entitled to medical treatment. And frankly, it's shocking to learn, but that doesn't happen in all cases. And it's really hard to envision who should vote against that. But we had that vote yesterday. It passed. We did pick up a couple of Democratic votes, but the vast majority of the Democratic members of Congress voted against it. And so to those folks who worry about the dysfunction of the new Republican conservative majority, I would just point that out and say, I think the American people spoke back in November. We wish they had given us a bigger margin, but they gave us a majority. I think that was a statement about how they felt about the last 2 years, the runaway inflation that we've seen, the highest since I was in high school, and so we're going to begin to work hard to push back against that. We have put up $32 trillion in debt for this country, and a lot of that has happened just in the last 2 years. We've got to turn that around, and we put in place a set of rules that are going to guide us to get back to passing the appropriations, funding the country in regular order, which allows for more deliberative and more contemplative assessment of how we ought to be spending our money. And so I'm very optimistic that they're going to be thrilled with what we're able to do. We do just control the House, so we don't control the Senate. We don't control the White House, the administration. And so that means, we're going to have some fights on our hands dealing with them. But I think for the most part, what you'll see is Republicans on the same page fighting for the conservative Tennessee values that we so highly treasure there in the 6th District of Tennessee.
All right, let me ask this, because you mentioned the 87 IRS.
87,000. 87,000.
87,000. Yes. Now you rescind that in the House. Does the Senate have to concur? And with some of the other things you're going to be doing, is it dependent upon the Senate to go along with you before it happens?
Absolutely. You remember, probably watched the old Schoolhouse Rock on public television, and so we do have to ultimately bring the Senate along. So that won't immediately go into effect. That'll be one of those things we have to lever the Senate on and fight for. And so, we just have passed that bill in the House. We will have some leverage points, and I think these will be points to take note of, and no doubt we'll be discussing them. The country is running up against the debt limit that's been established historically, and so at that moment, the House will have significant leverage. As we pass and consider the appropriations for the coming fiscal year that will start on October 1st, we will have leverage as it relates to the Senate and as it relates to the White House. And there'll be other moments where we'll have leverage. And we see some of the impact of that, Coleman, already. Some people think it may be a coincidence that back in December, even before we had a majority, Speaker now McCarthy was able to convince the president to rescind the vaccine mandate that was just gutting the armed services across the country, as people were being forced to either take a vaccination or leave their military service. And so we ended that requirement. We've got more work to do there because we want to be able to restore those people who were pushed out of the military. So that was another example. But the president relented after 2 years of refusing to. And then, of course, much in the news this week, the president has gone to the southern border for the first time in his life, much less the time in public service that he's had. And that's not an accident. He's there because he knew we were going to be really turning up the heat on him. And then the last one I will mention, because I think it's important, and I think a lot of Tennesseans and folks in the 6th District are concerned about this. You've seen the reporting this week that, in fact, the now president, former vice president, as it turns out, lo and behold, is in possession of classified documents, and has been for the last many years, 6 years plus. And that would have, in my view, you would have never heard about that, but I think the powers that be knew that the oversight that's coming from the Republican majority was going to unearth things like that, and they're trying to get ahead of those things.
I've been wondering since this happened in the last few days here, revealed about finding these classified documents and so on. If nothing else comes out of this, if this could be used in a way of leverage to get some other concessions from the president and the Democrats that you might not be able to otherwise. I mean, we do sort of play these political games in getting legislation passed. Comment on that.
Well, that's exactly right. So I'll start with the border. You've seen increasingly Democratic members of Congress, governors, mayors across the state speaking up about the horrendous situation at our southern border. And so I think that's just one example of the pressure that's building, and they know we're going to shine a light on that. And so I think you see that. It does give us leverage. So we're also, one of the important jobs, and I know sometimes we all roll our eyes and kind of skeptical about it, but truth is, the founders, when they gave us this great constitutional republic, they set up this system of checks and balances. And so part of the job of Congress is to keep a watchful eye on the president. One of the other, and so we haven't been doing that for the last 2 years with Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. In my own committee, we have not had we went almost 6 months without having an administration official in front of our committee for oversight purposes, and that's just really untenable and not the kind of accounting that we need from the administration. And that's when you see things go off the rails. We saw yesterday our Secretary of Transportation, who's responsible for the air traffic control system, kind of throwing his hands up as for the first time since 9/11, when it was done intentionally, yesterday not done intentionally, every taking off flight in the country had to be grounded because the system went down. And, that's just another example of an administration that doesn't have their finger on the pulse of what's happening and being able to run the country efficiently. And it impacts everyday Americans. And so we've got a lot of oversight work to do. There are other ways. One of the rules changes, and that was a lot of the debate that was going on last week, one of the rules changes that we've made gives the House empowers us to revoke the funding for an individual employee of the federal government, or we can do it for a whole area if we want to. Well, that's a pretty powerful stick that we're going to have as we try to, get federal officials to do their job. So, for example, again, I'll use the border as an example, but there are many. And I think this may be on the minds of the FBI and the Justice Department. We can go in and say this particular agent or this particular manager or administration official, we're just defunding their position. Now, again, we'd have to get the Senate to go along, but as you know, those things come together as a part of a large funding package, and we'll have significant leverage in those places when it comes to dealing with the Senate and with the president, and so that's the kind of thing that you're going to see, and that's the way that this power gets applied in ways sometimes that are less obvious and sometimes that are very indirect, but it is part of the power of controlling one of the houses of Congress.
Well, thanks for explaining that. We got a couple of minutes left here. I want to get back to the border thing for a moment. I don't know how observant the president has been, and it may be that he was almost driven to go there because of, but it seems to me that there's some of our governors, whether they're Republican or Democrats, have the border issue is really an important thing that it's something that should have been addressed in a better way. And quite frankly, I think the previous administration under President Trump, we had things a whole lot better, in a lot better shape than we have now. But are we going to see any improvement? Are we still going to just have all these people coming over? And of course, the Mexican drug cartels involved in all of this. What's your prediction for the say the next 2 years for this president's tenure regarding people coming through the border?
Well, I think with the pressure that we'll be able to bring to bear from the House, that it probably will trend in a better direction. But one of the important things to remember is that the current president campaigned 3 years ago on opening up the border. I mean, he specifically put out the announcement that we could accept 2 or 3 million more people a year and it wouldn't be a problem. And so he invited this, and frankly, the administration tries to say, oh, well, this is because Congress hasn't acted. Everyone needs to keep in mind, we have laws, and those laws say you cannot come into this country illegally, and the President and the Secretary of Homeland Security and our Border Patrol agents, they're all sworn to uphold those laws. And so what is happening at the southern border is just an intentional failure to uphold the laws of this country. A lot of times I hear people, particularly on the talking head shows on TV, say, well, Congress has failed to legislate. Well, we haven't legislated in the way that some of those people would like us to. So, for example, many people want to see Congress give out amnesty to the people who've come here illegally. We haven't done that. The former president, President Trump, actually made an offer to the Democrats while he was president to try to resolve that issue, and they just wholehandedly rejected that. And so there are laws. Those things need to be enforced, and we'll be applying pressure. My friend Jamie Comer, who's just from across the border up in Tompkinsville, Kentucky, is now chairman of the House Oversight Committee, and Jim Jordan from Ohio, chairman of the Judiciary Committee. And you're going to see them applying a lot of pressure, trying to get the president to put back in place the policies that President Trump had implemented that had really brought the flow of illegals to a trickle by the time he left office. He struggled with this and, of course, got no cooperation from the Congress during most of his tenure, but he ultimately was able to fashion a set of policies, enforcement policies, that worked around the impediments that the courts had put in place, worked around the failures of Congress to provide funding, but ultimately brought that under control. So this president could take us back there. If this president had done absolutely nothing, we'd be in a much better place, in a good place with respect to the border, and we wouldn't have 5 million illegals who've entered the country during his term in office. It's just in 2 years. It's really breathtaking.
Congressman, it's frustrating to me that our time is already up this morning, but thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it so much, and we'll be doing it a little bit later in the year. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Coleman. I appreciate it, and thanks to all the folks listening in for the opportunity to represent you.
All right. Well, that's going to do it. Ray Render, you can say goodbye here. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thank you. Yes.
All right. That's going to do it. Join us tomorrow for Coleman and Company. Till then, I wish you a tremendous day.